Hi, everyone. Shayna J here with One Heart Mission and the new Urban Wisdom podcast. I'm so excited that people are finding these interviews helpful and living our lives as mastering the moment and also different types of spiritual systems, tips, and techniques, and guidance from masters around the world in many, many modalities. And one of them is my good friend, Tom Woloshyn, who's here with me today. And he is a master cleanse master coach extraordinaire. I mean, I just loved doing my cleanses with him. I did too, and he's magnificent in everything that he brings in. Other modalities, Vitaflex and light therapy, and um, essential oils, of course, absolutely. And
Yes.
Louise Hay's beautiful book of helping you heal your life. So, welcome, Tom. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with me today.
Thank you very much, Shayna J. I very much enjoy being here. This is what I like to do. I like to speak to the people and to the masses and tell them a little bit about my work and hopefully inspire them to do some of the work for themselves. So
Yeah,
again, thank you.
absolutely. Did you just have a color light shift colors on you? I,
Just shift now.
I saw
No.
like a red or pink hue come in.
Oh, well, maybe that was something coming through on a spiritual level.
Right, because now it's all blue. Now it's shifted to blue.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm not sure what that is.
maybe it's my eyes.
Well, I have a halo light here, so you'll see it off my glasses, but
I
there's,
think
shouldn't be doing any blue light. It's, but,
interesting.
but anyways,
Well,
we'll talk about a little bit about that a little
yeah, we
later about color.
right, because I wanted to ask you to kind of, put into a frame just a concise, I know you have a lot to say about what you do, but into a few sentences, like share with people how important this work is to you and what it is.
Well, this is a set of tools that I've compiled since early 1980. And I was originally taught Stanley Burroughs' work with Louise Hay's work, and then later on met Gary Young and started using oils. And I have found that this work, you pretty much can heal almost any condition pretty simply. It's not always easy, but pretty simply. Everybody I put on the master cleanse, and if you know Gary Young at his clinic, everybody went on the master cleanse. He did Vitaflex with his clients. I do Vitaflex with mine. Color therapy, and color therapy is just the shining or application of light on the body for healing. You can just be asleep. You can be watching TV. You could be reading a book. It's just shining light on your body. And that's just how simple it is. In fact, just kind of off topic here a little bit. Well, I got a piece of shard of glass in my hand. Did you hear that in one of the classes?
No.
So I got this shard of glass that went up into my almost this joint in my thumb. It was a glass that was shattered, and I didn't know. And when I opened it, this glass came into my hand, and I thought I got it all out. It was one long shard, but there was a piece still inside. And then some weeks later, I started to feel this. And so I was getting annoyed. So I started doing color therapy and using the color orange. And orange draws things out of your body. Just like if you're constipated, you use orange. If you're feeling nauseous and you put orange on yourself, it'll make you vomit. So I started doing orange. And just about 3 nights ago, I had kind of cut it open with a knife because I kind of knew where it was going to come out. So I was doing orange and it's drawing it out. And it came out in a different place that it went in. But anyways, I was showering and I had it cut open a little bit, and I wiped my face, and a piece of glass shard came across my cheek, but I didn't wipe hard. It would have probably cut me. And I
Wow.
came out and I said to my wife, I said, it's coming out, it's coming out. So she got some tweezers and was able to grab it. And when she pulled it out, it actually kind of sliced into my hand because it was the point and it was wider. It was kind of came like an arrowhead.
And it
But
was the skin had grown over it.
Well, it had, no, when the glass had gone all the way into my hand up here, and I didn't know that it had broken off, that glass shard. And so it was trapped inside there. And, so when I started doing the light and stuff, it started moving out. And interestingly enough, it turned around to the sharp point to move out because the sharp point went in. You can see, I have the piece of glass. I don't have it down here. So it's, I mean, like for some of you who you probably know this, like Wayne Dyer, who spoke at the convention 5-6 years ago. I met him at a Hay House You Can Do It conference, and he admitted to having an incurable leukemia, and he had so much pain he could barely walk. And I approached him on the stage we went to the stage and held up my book and said, Wayne, here's a diet that you can heal your leukemia. And furthermore, I can probably treat you so that you can get rid of your pain. And so he said, and we talked a little bit, and he said, when are you free? And I said, when are you free? He said, 3:15. I said, which hotel? He said, the Sandman. I said, which room? 1004. And I said, see you there. And he went on the cleanse, did 20 days, and his leukemia went away. And this was an incurable leukemia. And it typically only takes 10 days. You know how many thousands of people die of leukemia every year? And in 10 days. Diabetics, 5 days can be off their insulin completely, or even in one if they want to do it that way. I've had people with MS, colon cancer, reproductive cancer, infertility, allergies, asthma, injuries from car accidents, and on and on and on, who do this work and completely heal themselves. Now, it's not me healing them. It's me giving them and teaching them how to use these tools. And they're available to anybody who wants to use them. It's just like essential oils. Like, you just got to phone them up and make an order. It's just that simple. I remember Gary saying, I'm going to teach you how to use oils. He said, see this? There you go. We're done. So I put that oil, that's what he said. That's it. We're done. Just open the bottle, put it on. So I've got it on my hand.
And let the oil do the work.
Yes. Same with color therapy. You just shine it on your body, and your body takes the oil, takes the color therapy, takes VitaFlex or whatever you're doing, whatever the tool is, and it utilizes it to help you heal yourself. And it's Louise Hay's work is just sort of putting it all in order. If you decide you want to heal, these tools will just, in a sense, appear magically, in a sense, because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that's been my motto. And I've had people who, I've been at convention and I'm in a line with somebody and we get talking, and I've had them break down and start weeping, and they go, I was praying to find somebody like you. I was praying. And I go, yes, I know, I'm here because I was praying that people like you would find me. What do you need? And they'd be going, but I was praying. I go, I know, here I am. What do you need? And then we, get into a conversation, and it would go from there.
What a beautiful.
I hope that was brief enough.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's so beautiful because you do have so many stories that illustrate the results of what you've been doing for 40 years. I'll say it. You haven't said it yet. 40 years. And it's impressive, the work that you do. And what I realized this morning while I was meditating is that the people that I get to be in the presence of have mastered what they're doing because they are living in the moment. Because you can plan and you can strategize, but when you're doing your work, you are in the moment and you are living there and you are accessing your full divine self and your gifts, and you're sharing them through your heart, and your fields become like, I'm still seeing the colors changing. I don't know what's going on over there, but literally it's going from pinkish to lavenderish to bluish to, wild.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's maybe I'm seeing auras now. I don't know.
Maybe.
But so I wanted to ask you how that works for you. Is this literally you're on your coaching calls, you are so present with every single person. And it's partly all the experiences you've had, because I've watched you, that those stories are just like the right story is right there for the right person. It's amazing to, to watch you in action. But that's what happens. And so that person in a couple of minutes starts to feel relieved because their mental is relieved. And then you're in the moment, they're in the moment, and some kind of magic will happen that's unexplainable. Can you speak to that?
Yes, well, you put it really quite beautifully, actually. I guess, I hadn't thought about this. I love to dance, and that's one of my favorite things to do. And why dancing? Because you have to be in the moment. And when I'm treating people, in a sense, or working with people, that's what it is. I'm in the moment. I'm not in yesterday. I'm not in tomorrow. And yesterday and tomorrow don't even exist. They're just figments of our imagination. It's like yesterday, might be real. It might not be. It could be, I imagine that. And tomorrow, who knows? So when I'm working with people, we're right in that moment, and it's being, like, as you say, present with them, and having a sense of, not that I always understand what they're feeling, but have a good sense of, yes, they're really sad, or yes, they're feeling a lot of pain, or if they're feeling disappointed, or they're confused. And it's to go, okay, I've had those experiences, so I can, to relate to that, and to, because I've worked with so many thousands of people. There's, I don't know how many stories I've forgotten almost, or sometimes somebody will say something, as you say, and it'll just, that story comes up. My wife, Leslie, was saying that she was reading something just a couple of weeks ago, and to just present somebody with data and say this and this and this, people have a certain amount of retention. But if you tell a story, I think the retention goes from about 20% to about 80%.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I like to, to tell stories, because there's a hook there, and it's easier to remember, because it's unique. And then and if it applies to you, you can go, oh, okay, this person did this and it worked for them. And of course it can work for me. So I get really excited, actually, when I work with people, because I've had people where I say, I can already see you healed. You've got to take these steps, but I can already see it. It's on. And I've had, I had one woman who said to me, she said, you're like a cheerleader. You just rah, rah, rah. And I go, yeah, I guess I do. I'm your coach, and I'm your cheerleader. I want you to get your best outcome from what I have to offer you. Now, of course, I also have to say, don't blame me if you get well. And, and don't blame me if you don't get well, because I'm saying you're the empowered individual here. You have to be, personally responsible. And all I can do is advise, support, consult as best I can. And the rest is up to you. And so if you want to work as a team, here I am. But you've got to work with me. If you start working against me, then it's not going to work.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. So, this brings up what I look at when I've been working with clients. I've also myself worked with over 15,000 clients in teaching them how to self-heal, and then spiritual work, and also tools and guidance from my own experience as I've grown as well. And what I found is that there's a lot of challenging things, a lot of challenges that come with, if you have mastering the moment or living in the moment as a goal. It's like it can be really challenging and bring up all kinds of things for people. So what have you experienced with that?
well, um, working with people sometimes, I've never sort of felt myself to be intuitive, that people say you are, I can, because this will come out of, I'll sort of pull thoughts out of nowhere. But what the other thing I've noticed is that I will tune into actually what people are feeling sometimes, but I didn't understand that at first. I'd be working with something going, gee, I'm feeling sad. Why am I feeling? And I would sort of let it pass. And it wasn't necessarily my sadness, it was their sadness. And actually I was tuning into. So in this work, you have to also become aware of what's mine and what's theirs, and if sometimes it may be because it's theirs and I can relate to it, it's mine as well. So it's to, whatever that, feeling is, at time when I'm working with people, I can't, too much get involved with it. But whenever we do have our feelings, or when things come up, as I teach in my class, we have to be in the moment with them. Like, what is it? If I'm angry, then be angry. And of course, you want to be angry in a way that's safe to yourself and others, so you don't want to just start throwing things madly, and because some people, that's what I've seen it, that's what they do, which makes me think of, here's a story. I'm at my daughter's wedding, and she's married a Greek. And so there's a lot, there's a large Greek part of the wedding of the family, and I didn't know this, and one of the things they do is that I think it was after the meal, and one of the uncles started grabbing these very expensive dinner plates and smashing them on the dance floor, and this is how they vent their stress, their anger, their disappointment, whatever it is. And, and my son-in-law's father came over quickly and said, like, these are $40 plates, okay? And so, stop that. And in fact, one of the shards of the plate hit my son's hand and he was bleeding quite profusely at one point. But in the next wedding I was at, the guy had brought a box of cheaper dinner plates and was smashing them on. And I don't know if there were other people, I wasn't there, but all of a sudden I hear all this smashing. And I thought, what a wonderful way. So here they were at this wedding, and anything that was sort of unlike the joy and the happiness that you want to be expressing, we're going to get it out right now. Let's just get through it and move on. And it was, I thought, what a great way to sort of move through this, so.
Well, yeah, because weddings can be very pressurized situations, especially the final week, and especially when you come from a large family, that the tradition is having a very large wedding that is expensive. And hey, if it means the smashing $40 plates in Greek, I'm not Greek, but I get it. It releases the tension, and also on an energetic level, it will release the tension in the couple, and as well as all of the people that are there as guests. So
can I have another story?
yeah, go ahead.
I'm at a wedding of my friends, and there was about 80 people, and they had a microphone, and they talked a little bit and said thank you for coming, and we'd like everybody to introduce themselves and tell how they met the bride and the groom. I couldn't remember, and they're passing around the microphone, and it was this, everybody was, hi, I'm so and so, and I met Daniel here, and I met Anna there, and blah blah. And I was just, it was so boring, and it was just like, and everybody was really kind of stiff and rigid. And when it came to me, I said, hi, my name is Tom. Many of you don't know, but Daniel and I are former lovers. And Anna stole Daniel. His mother choked up her food and spit her food. And Daniel and Anna, like, they just looked at me and just burst out laughing, because of course it was all made up. And everybody started laughing, the whole group. And it was an entirely different, like, people came up and said, that changed everything when, because everybody lightened up. Somebody who had known me for 2 or 3 years came up to me, and you're going to find this funny. She came up to me and she said, I get it. You're actually funny. And because we go to parties and she'd come up to me and talk to me about her health problems all the time. And so this was the side that she would always see to me, is this, okay, you need to go on the master cleanse. You need to change your thoughts. This is how, so she didn't know I was this. I'm a little, wild and crazy at times. I like to be funny. I like to bring levity to, especially when I'm teaching. If you're working with somebody and they've got cancer, you've got to lift their spirits a little bit. And you say, okay, and I say, hey, it's not cancer. It's just another condition.
That's
Cancer is just the name of a symptom. And
That's
that
right.
underlying cause is just, in one sense, if you really read Louise Hay, it's just you're unhappy.
Yeah.
And happiness and unhappiness are choices. And
Yeah.
this one person I was having this discussion with, and she was very unhappy and wanted to die. And then she decided, I still have grandchildren and I want to watch them grow up. And so she had changed her mind, because the first question I asked her when I was treating her was, do you want to live or do you want to die? And she said, I want to live. And that changed everything for her. And she's still alive today, 16 or 17 years later, and her grandchildren have some of them growing up, and there's still a few younger ones, but she's alive and well today, 17 years later.
That's amazing. It's true. Humor, of course, is a healing tool, actually.
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely. And I remember you're reminding me of one situation I had where my former father-in-law got ill. And this man has never been sick in his whole life. And so when I came over, his daughter, my sister-in-law, asked me to come for a week and just stay in the house. And I was an ex even at the time, but you don't divorce the exes. I'm sorry.
Right.
I don't. And so I went there, and the first thing I said, well, just talk to me a little bit. Now, this is a very reserved man, Japanese, very quiet, doesn't access his feelings, doesn't know anything about but his work and his normal life. That's what he knows. And so I said, Pop, so tell me how you're feeling. He's like, I just don't feel good. I just don't feel good. I don't know what's wrong. And I said, it occurred to me. I said, Pop, you've never been sick, have you?
Oh, yes.
He's like, no. And I said, Pop, you don't know how to be sick. You don't know that when you're sick, it's just a rest time and then you get well. And his eyes just went, wow, like I had just showed him a whole new universe,
Yes, yes.
And literally by the time I left in a week, he was better, and I did oils on him, and I, moved his circulation, and basically he had a really bad case of the flu at the time. It wasn't anything. He went to the doctor, got all the tests, but it wasn't anything that was, I knew he was going to get well. So
see, what you did is exactly what I do and many other people, that's it. It's being there in that moment and just going, there it is. And just, it's like this gift, and you hand it to them, and it's like, I've had people just go, I have a number of stories that people just, I was working with this woman, and she was complaining about her ex, and I started saying, hold on here, and she went, but, and I went, stop. And I said, and she went, but again. And I started to talk. And after about the third or fourth but, and I just said, I'm not going to listen to a word you say from now on. You've said but to me 4 times. And then she started wagging her finger at me. And I said, you're wagging your finger at me? I said, who's the one that needs help, you or me here? And so I kind of shut her down, not rudely. Well, the next day when I came to visit her, and I was driving to her place, and I was thinking, oh, how is she going to greet me? Because I was just so, upfront in her face. And when I knocked on the door, and she opened the door, and she saw me, and she lunged at me and grabbed me, and she hugged me, and she said, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I did what you said, and it's changed everything. Everything is, and it was just, and it was one of those things where I just happened to say the right thing at the right moment. And when she applied that, in her family, all of these things changed momentarily. And it can be, it's just a simple few words. It's just, but it is a gift, and it's life-changing.
It is a gift. And I'm going to say for what you and I are talking about, normally these interviews don't go this way, but what you and I are talking about and focusing on is what really makes living in the moment. This is why I wanted to do these interviews, because people don't realize how valuable it is to just be in the presence of your whole self. Now I know you, Tom. I'm not a longtime friend, but I do know you. I got you. You are intuitive. You have so much energy going through you that is divine already, probably because you're so cleansed. I mean, I know, that you do a lot of cleanses and but this is what's important is staying in the moment allows you, when your body is healthy, when you're connected to your divine, when you're in the presence of nothing and except another person expressing something that they want your response. That response comes from that divine space within you. It's beautiful, and it's right on because it's matching the energetic values of what's happening in that moment. And there's no other side conversations going on. There's no judgment in there. There's no right or wrong. There's only what you're doing in that moment and your commitment, and which is my commitment too, is how may I serve? How may I dedicate this moment to serving you? And go ahead.
Yeah, you say it so well. It's, that as you say that when that moment happens to them, it's it's not just for them because you get that, oh wow, this is, you go, this is so great. And it's as I say, it's kind of a rush, it's just because you've in a sense woken that person up, and you've created this sort of, it's already there, that aliveness is there, but it's kind of like the door has been jammed shut and you've just kind of kicked it open. They still have to step through, and when they do, it's not just for, it's for them, but you kind of go, it affects you as well, because
Yeah,
people will, I've treated people and they're dying and nobody wants to work with them, and they say go home and die, and I'll treat them, and they go, and I go, and they'll do whatever I tell them, and I go, how can you, why are you so trusting? And they go, because you're the only person that offered anything. Nobody else had anything to, couldn't help. And because these people, I've had people go through like a lot of, discomfort in this process of healing, but trust me, stay true to it, and then heal themselves. And I've just been, wow, I never had to go through that to get to this point. It was much easier for me.
yeah,
and to see other people do it inspires me then as well. So it's not a, for people should know this. It's not a one-way street. It goes back and forth. I can help other people, and people will, say things to me or do things, and I'll go, wow, that's incredible. And and it helps my, opens up my heart even more.
absolutely. So what do you think about the resistance that people have? How do you work around that resistance? Like you said, in one story you felt the door was jammed shut and then you opened it, and how do you do that?
Well, it's ultimately, if I have an affirmation that goes, everything, or I only attract those people that receive their highest good from the work that I have to offer, and the rest peacefully walk on by. So if they're in front of me, they've made a choice, whether they like it or not, that I'm, going to be instrumental in their process. And so I give people, what is it, even if they're in resistance, it's just that they're just not understanding something that I just, when people, one of my former partners, people would kind of interview her and ask her about me, and she said, he can't hear the word no. No, it's like, no, I can't do the lemonade diet. And I go, why? Well, I'm diabetic. Well, I go, well, that's why you do it, because you're diabetic. So you don't have, but I can't do it because I'm allergic to lemons. I go, well, that's exactly why you would do
I
the
do
lemonade, because
it.
if you do the lemonade, you'll get rid of your allergies to lemon. Well, I can't do the lemonade because, and every time after the fifth or sixth, they can't do it. And I go, yes, you can. Then people go, I go, now it's just a choice. If you don't want to do it, just say you don't want to do it and you don't want to get well. And I acknowledge that. I'm fine with that. But if you truly want to get well, here's the thing that you can use, one of the things, and I can help and support you through this. That's what I am. I'm a lemonade whisperer. If you got a problem, talk to me. And you've seen it,
Right.
I generally, I can fix it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But if you don't talk to me and you don't express what's going on, there's very little I can do,
Yeah.
and so resistance is just a place where people just need more information, um, just greater understanding. And once they go, oh, because the things that, especially around the master cleanse, the number of things that people have heard, the misinformation. I've been told that, if you do so many days of the lemonade diet, you'll die. Like I was talking to somebody and they said, if you do more than 75 days, it depletes all your, electrolytes and you die. And I went, really? Are you sure? And they go, yes. And I went, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And they're looking at me and they went, what? I said, I've done about 475 days now. How am I going to die any day now? And they're looking at me and I said, really? I'm going to die after 75 days and I've done almost 500? Like, and then, and now that I've done like 3 years of my life or more, and I'm still alive,
Right.
and, I've had, people have all of these misconceptions about lots of essential oils, because, and it's the same thing in a sense, because there's so much junk out there. If people have seen essential oils out of a health food store. That was my first exposure. And I went, they're useless. They don't do anything. It wasn't until I got Young Living and went,
Yeah.
oh, this is a
Me too.
whole, this is a whole quantum leap.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is the one thing about the master cleanse, is that it's a quantum leap above anything else that's out there. Nothing comes remotely close. And it's not just, I did the cleanse to prove it wouldn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gary Young did the cleanse to starve himself to death. And after 256 days in a row, he got up and walked away from his wheelchair. How many stories do you have to hear? And there are people who will still go, not interested, and it's just because they've got, something going on. And sometimes it's just, they're not ready to get well. They're just not ready for, I don't deserve it. People, nobody can be healthy in my family, whatever it is. People have these limiting beliefs, and when they're ready, you just got to challenge that belief, turn it around for them and say, you now deserve to be healthy, healthier than everybody else in your family if you
Yeah.
choose. It's that,
You put it really, really well. I never thought of resistance being a misconception, but it actually is, because that's when my clients, I've worked with a lot of resistance, a lot. They say they want to be well, like you say,
yeah.
heard this, and then they do everything they can to stop the process. And what I have done is I've just helped them change their mind about it. And I didn't realize it till you said it. It's a misconception. Once the misconception has a flattened or an opened reality, then it can breathe, and you can start to work from there.
Yeah.
So that's one of the challenges that's living in the moment with God, resistance
Well,
totally is futile.
I have a story. So I've done, a number of live talks, and I've had, I've had people get up out of a wheelchair, or I've had people, their spine, severe scoliosis, almost go completely straight in 3 seconds in front of an audience. I've had people who in so much pain they can barely walk and get up. And anybody can do this. I don't have any special skills. The skill that I have is that I trust the work. Well, anyways, I had this man come up who was in severe pain. And I came up to the front of the audience, and I was going to demonstrate on him. And this is where my intuition was working, but I didn't pick up on it. And so sometimes I'm, because I've been in the South, and I'll say, are you ready for a healing? Because I've got that kind of an audience. And this man came up and I went, are you ready for a healing? Like, it was like, I was already feeling he was not.
No.
He was not. And I worked on him, did some stuff. His pain level was I think he said a 9 or 10 out of 10. And I worked on them for a few minutes and it didn't budge. And I've never had that happen. It didn't change at all. And I was kind of like, what is that? And then I realized, oh, he didn't want to get well. He wasn't, he was up there to, I think, to maybe prove that I couldn't do. And and I tell people, what's more powerful, your mind or my physical abilities to help you get well? Well, your mind is more, like I'll say to people, what's more powerful, your mind or a bottle of essential oil? Or what's more powerful, your mind or a glass of lemonade? Or it's your mind. And if somebody's mind is so, as you say, they have resistance and turned off, and you don't recognize it, because I had, on one level I had, and in a sense I've said to people I failed in that respect, and they go, you failed? I went, well, I actually kind of picked up on it, but I didn't act on it because I hadn't had that happen ever before in an audience. Well, usually people come up and go, heal me, heal me. And here he was going, I'm going to show you. And so, we learn from all of those lessons. But yeah, when people are in that place, either you got to go, either fire them as a client. Sometimes I'll go, when you're ready to get well, give me a call, or find the person that you want to help you get well. But at this point, you're wasting your money and my time.
Yeah.
So let's get clear here. And I've had to do that sometimes with people. Just, make up your mind.
I agree. I've had to do that also, where people have, paid really good money. I'm like, why are you asking me questions and then not listening? You really want your money to go to waste? I mean, you've got a lot more going on than you're willing to admit. And that's what I was wondering about with you, is that, how to keep maneuvering around the resistance. And I had one client when I was living in Ashland, and I just love this woman so much. She was a friend, and she decided she wanted to have some sessions to move, this certain area, which I don't even remember what it was anymore. But she used to say to me at the end of the session, resistance is futile. It really is, because she would realize her own resistance. And in her realizing it, she felt better.
There you
And her
go. Yeah.
pain would go away. That's the key. And it just always like, well, I got to see the eyes open up. That's all I want to see, that opening. So another thing that I wonder about, and I'd like to ask you, is about some of the blessings that you get to see by being in the moment with your clients. And I know you've got a lot of stories that are all positive, because you won't take no for an answer unless you give them that choice point. Mm-hmm. It's either leave and go, come back. Yeah. Okay. So what do you say about that? So what are the blessings?
Well, the story I've told often was this man I did a treatment with, and he'd been in a boating accident and chronic pain for 2 years. And if he didn't get in the hot tub every 6 hours, his body would become paralyzed. He said he had to get in a hot tub. I did one treatment, and the day before he came in, he could only touch his knees. And the next day, I'm going to do this really quick. I did the treatment. He called me the next morning and said, I need to come and see you. And it was in between clients, and that's why I picked up the phone. And he said, I need to come and see you. And I said, Bob, I don't have time today. He said, I need to come and see you. I said, Bob, really, I'm pretty busy today. He said, I need to give you something. I said, what do you need to give me? I said, I need to come and see you. I went, Bob, I'm busy. He said, Tom, I said, okay, I'm taking a break between 2 and 3 or whatever, or 1 and 2. So he shows up and he says, I want to show you something. And he bends over and he puts his hands like this flat to the floor, bending over. Wow. And I had forgotten he couldn't touch his knees, or barely touch his knees yesterday. And I went, well, what? Big deal. And he said, well, don't you remember? And I went, what? He said, I can only touch my knees yesterday. And I went, oh, right. Yeah. I'd already forgotten you were sick. And I do forget. That's the other thing. I've had people say to me, I forgot I had this problem because I'm so well now. That's right. That's a trip, when people forget that they had been sick when you're treating them. So anyways, he says, I want to give you something. And what? So out of his shirt pocket, he's like this. He takes this piece of paper and he hands me this paper. And on this piece of paper, at the top line, there's today's date. And the next line is my name. The next line is blank. And the third line is a signature. And I say, Bob, there's no amount here. He said, yeah, I know. Put in there whatever you like. And I start to panic, whatever I like. He said, yeah, put in there whatever you like, Tom, whatever. But Bob, there's, how do I, like, what do I, Tom, I only have $6 or $7 million in that account, write whatever you like. You know what I did? I discounted my work to him. I gave him a discount, this multimillionaire. So the woman, remember I said the woman who greeted me at the door and grabbed me like this, she gave me a $5,000 tip. So, and part of that is if you use Young Living Oils, I had started using acceptance. I'd been taught to not receive money. So that moment with that client of mine who had that, where that pain completely went away and his body was well, I could have become an instant millionaire, really. And he wouldn't have blinked. That's the thing. I knew I became close friends with him. He wouldn't have blinked. And so there was a moment there that I learned, oh, I can accept what, like at that point, I didn't realize how blocked I was to receiving. So, and then in that other moment with somebody, here they gave me a $5,000 tip and I graciously went, thank you. So when people give me things, I say thank you, and which is to show gratitude. I've just, had, when you have somebody, I was in New Jersey, and there was one of the people in the audience, and I was asking for who's in the worst pain, and I was going through this thing, and somebody yells at the back, I'm at a 10, 10 out of 10. And I went, I guess you're the one. And he comes up and I said, what's wrong? And he said, I have Lyme disease. And he's in this acute pain through his body, but he'd also been punched in the side of the head. And I went, oh boy, what am I going to do here? All right, let's just do it. So I do the Atlas adjustment, which takes like 5 seconds. And I said, stand up and walk. And he went, my pain's completely gone. Wow. Completely gone. So he comes to my workshop. He brings his girlfriend, he brings his best friend, and he brings his dad. So all of that comes from that. So a few years later, I'm at the convention in, where was it? Houston or Austin? Where was it? Austin, I think, or Houston. He was in Texas. I keep trying to remember. And I'm walking with, and it's really crowded there. And one of this, Tama is his name, was in, we meet each other walking, and he says, Tom, I got to tell you a story. He said, last week I had a friend who was over, and she said she had to go in for surgery for her shoulder. She had this shoulder problem. And it was Tuesday night, and it was Thursday was her surgery. And he said, would you let me try something on you? And she said, sure. And he did an Atlas adjustment on her. She canceled her surgery. So you know what that's like? So, because it wasn't me, it was like passing on, to, the whatever it is, the knowledge to somebody else. And they can do the same thing. And I said, Tama, isn't this amazing that you learned this simple thing in a matter of 5 seconds, you changed that person's life? She had to be open for it. And that's the gift, is that you could, I've done stuff with people, and you can just see their whole life has just been completely, what their whole, what's in front of them. And then their perception of what's behind them is changing as well. Because you can't change the past, but you can change your perception of it. You can go, oh, that was a bad thing. And you went, oh, that was a lesson I needed to learn so I could get here, because now everything is different and my world is going to be blessed and changed forever by this experience. Not that I won't maybe experience sadness or grief or pain or whatever, but I now will have a different set of tools that I can move through this more easily, more readily, without too much discomfort, or not as much discomfort. And with this, you can, as I tell people, when you become this model, you then inspire others. Yeah. And that's the, and so what you're doing and what we're doing is it has this ripple effect. course. Like Gary Young, how many millions of people are
Oh,
using oils now? Like, look at this man.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, what I'm hearing you say, which is really beautiful, is having people access. The blessing is accessing your yes.
Yeah.
Because like you said, the woman just came up and she said yes to the guy, and within seconds she could raise her arm. And isn't that true? For me, it is for all my clients. When they say yes, even though they have resistance, we find a way to the yes
You get,
again, and we keep getting to the yes until the yes is their blessing.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, and it's, I had last summer a professional, and she had a large clinic with about 20 people, she said, working with her. And people say, Tom, how much training do you have? And I go, well, 30 hours. And they go, 30 hours? I go, I'm not a brain surgeon. I only treat one illness, that's toxemia. On an emotional level, it's only one problem. It's just not loving yourself. If you read Louise Hay, it's two problems. There's two solutions. Like, it's love yourself, cleanse. I go, of course it requires, several steps in there, but it's just that simple. And so I'm treating this woman, and she's shut down. And I know it's because she's got years of, college, learning all of this work. And I don't have, well, I didn't, when I went to university, I took 2 or 3 psychology classes. It's interesting because the Freudian psychoanalyst, I had him on his couch and I was sitting with him, and he went, "What are you taking?" And I went, "Astronomy." He said, "No, you need to become a psychologist," or he said, "You're in the wrong field." But anyway, so this woman she's not talking to me, and and I'm not saying anything. I'm just letting, and what's happening is her resistance is building, and her pain is building and building, until finally the 8th day she was here in my house, and she finally just had this breakdown, and she started crying, and she was in so much pain. And I went, "Okay, you're ready. Here, let's go." Because she was already scheduled for something else that we were going to do. And instead, after, we spent an hour, and that hour, she said, completely changed her life. She now understood why this was going on with her sister, and why this happened in her childhood. Because it was just, I said, it's just this and this and this. And it was just this, so here's somebody who's, been in the business. She was like in her 60s, and familiar to all this, to this work, to counseling. And here it was, it just took this 1 hour. And the reason why is that I cheat. And how do I cheat? The body doesn't lie. Whatever is going on in your body is the truth.
That's right.
And people will say, "Oh, my body wants this." And I go, wrong answer. They're going, it's like, you want this. Your body isn't separate from you. Your body is an expression of you. And I say, I might not trust everything that comes out of this thing, out of your mouth, but I'll trust exactly what your body tells me. And here's what I do.
Absolutely.
I listen to what the body says.
Yeah.
And I do it partly through doing VitalFlex, because when you do VitalFlex, you'll get to the liver point. You say, I'll be doing the colon point, and you see this in many, many people. So I'm going up the ascending colon points on the foot, and it starts to hurt as I get to the hepatic flexure, the flexure below the liver. And that means there's a bunch of crap there. And when I get to the liver's sensitive and sore, which means it's being poisoned by that waste there. But the liver's anger and blame. And I'm going to be really blunt here. And I have to say to them, you're angry about old shit from the past, and what you need to do is physically do the cleanse to remove that waste. And we now have to deal with that anger and rage from the past that you're still carrying around day to day, as if it's your teddy bear. And guess what? It's killing you. That teddy bear is I was going to refer to some crazy horror movie, but I can't think of anything at the moment. There's that, a doll, and so I say, what we need to do is you got to set that, that anger and rage down, and that whatever it is from the past, and you've got to express it, let it go, move on, and forgive, and then you're free.
Yeah.
And I said, it'll become much easier when you're cleansing, because the cleansing puts you in a releasing state.
Yeah.
And that's why many people don't understand that. Like myself, I was just so I was such a faithful atheist. I had so much faith in atheism. And then after my 40th day of being on the cleanse, after I took my training, and I woke up one day and I was just like, oh no, there's a God out there. Because I could feel it. I could feel God, and I'm going, oh no. I'm an atheist though, and I'm feeling God. Now there's a conflict there. And my partner was there, and I said, there's a God out there. And she went, oh no. But she had her own much more profound awakening to God than I ever did. But it had, and this is what I've seen with people. Like one of my friends said, a mutual friend said, all those people do the lemonade diet turn into God lovers. And I went, oh yes, you heal physically, you heal emotionally and mentally, and then you wake up spiritually. When you haven't got all this pain and stuff going on in your head, you can go, oh, I can tune into life.
That's right.
You can go, there's more out here than just me and my grief or my whatever.
What a blessing that is to have, for once in your life, self-respect. When you realize there is a God, and that God is you, or dwells in your own energy cells, in the very breath you're breathing, the same breath as God, it's like everything changes.
Yes, absolutely.
What I got from what you said is self-respect. And how many people walk around saying, why don't people respect me? Nobody respects me. Well, that comes from, having respect for yourself, then people will get it. When you create boundaries and you tell people exactly what you need instead of saying what you think they want you to say, then, you start to have respect. So what a blessing that is, because it's actually true. When I was doing my cleanse with you, I had so many, I could say my cellular walls were speaking to me. I had so many memories that I was holding in my body that were coming up to be released. And then as they were releasing, it was no effort whatsoever to let them go, which is sometimes when you're working spiritually, it's an effort to try to let go or to forgive or to not judge the situation yet again. But no, when you're on the cleanse, well, at least this was my experience.
Right.
Those memories just were simple to like recognize and go, oh, that's why, and let it go. Bye-bye.
There's one thing I'd like to add to this. So there'll be all those spiritual people out there who go, oh, I'm already there. And here's what I hear from a lot of spiritual people. I don't need your work because I'm already spiritual. And what I've found, not all, but with most of these, is that they're very out of touch with their bodies. They're very out of touch with what's healthy and not healthy for them. And when I work on them and do a treatment, they have a lot of health issues that they're just in complete denial with. And, I'll say, your body is this vessel that you live through in this physical experience. Yes, you're a spirit, but you've chosen to be here, and you're not treating it with love and respect, which is not treating yourself with love and respect. And cleansing is a tool that will even open you up much more dramatically than you may ever expect to your spiritual side.
Right.
And so, if you're already thinking, I don't need the cleanse because I already am a spiritual, I would say you almost need it more from what I've seen in the past. And it's not a judgment. It's just, it's what I've seen over and over.
Yeah.
Like Louise, I was at Louise Hay's 90th birthday party, and it was a one day, and there were all these speakers, and she only came out to just, to be sort of adored and showing love. And, I don't know if she said very much, I don't at all, but the only thing I remember her saying, what she said, and this is maybe all she said this: eat your vegetables. Eat your vegetables. Eat your vegetables. She said it 3 times, and then she left. Get it? She just wanted people to eat well, because one of the things I know with Louise Hay, I was trying to book her to come to Toronto. And one of the things you had to do is the hotel that she arrived at, you had to have a wonderful vegetarian fruit and vegetable plate, you know, because she's flying in from somewhere, come in, you know, wouldn't be eating plain food or whatever, you know, come
Yeah.
to the hotel and wanted to have a nice set, you know, meal, something that she could eat. And so she's always been, you know, conscious of having to eat well. And so here's this, you know, this most incredible woman, and she's just telling people eat your vegetables, you know. And I thought, what wisdom there was there, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow, sweetheart. Well, I am just so thrilled with this conversation we've had. And I'm going to ask if you have one last thing to say, to share before we close. What would you like to say?
Oh boy. um, you know, people just, you know, trust yourself when something sort of appears to you or shows up in your life. Look at it for, you know, what is in there for me to experience, to learn from, that I can grow, heal, and feel more love and pleasure. You know, just, you know, because so often people are shown things and they'll go, you know, I do email campaigns. And the thing is that sometimes you have to send the same email 6 times, and people, the word some people say is the word they're charging. Okay, I'm on 20% on my way to take that. You know, as you know, I do these online group cleanses where I teach people how to cleanse to their, hopefully their greatest success. But as you know, I teach 10 times more stuff about, you know, the other information than just cleansing. And it's, you know, I tell people it'll be a real blessing. And so many people just go, oh, I don't need that. And partly because they just don't have enough information or don't trust that what they've been given, you know, what's showing up for them is really what's something that they need to look at. They don't necessarily have to jump in, but just, you know, take a look at it, give it some serious consideration. So just be open to what
Um,
God and or life presents to you on your daily basis and see what the message is.
oh, that's beautiful. Well said. And definitely something that we could put on a post-it on our mirror.
Well, thank you for having me here. It's been a
Oh,
pleasure.
thank you, Tom. You've given a wealth of information in just an hour. So, I mean, people I'm sure will get a lot out of this. And I'll let you know and everyone know that your information, your website, where they can find out more about the Master Cleanse and all that you do will be in the description on my YouTube channel, which is Urban Wisdom, and the podcast channel as well. So sign up, it's free, and be a subscriber so you'll know when the next one comes out. And in the meantime, enjoy your life today and see what happens in every single moment. Blessings.